Hello everyone, welcome to the second lecture of software engineering characteristic and myths. In this, first we will see the previous lecture summary, that why we studied the software engineering, then the software characteristic, and then the myths related with this software. See, why we studied the software engineering? Guess we studied to acquire these skills to develop a large and a good quality software. To develop a large program, in the sense handling the exponential growth in a complexity with size. What we have learned, or what we will learn, why we are learning the software engineering? To learn systematic techniques based on the abstraction, modeling and decomposition. Abstraction modeling means when you will represent your requirements in the form of models, you will not represent each and every detail. You will try to represent it in the form of functionality. And decomposition means if you are working on a very large program and on a very large project. So you will not do it in a one shot, like you will sit in a machine and you will complete it in a one day. What you will do? You will divide it into a smaller task. And then at the end, when each and every small task is completed, you will combine it. Got it? So that's why we are learning the software engineering, and we will learn all these aspects throughout the subject. Now, the next is, see, this picture you can see. Here you can see that first you have developed the left part, then you can say you have developed the right part. See, first you have developed this part, then this part individually, this part individually, and this part individually. And then each and every individual part is an abstraction. Right? We are not representing each and every detail. You can see this is a block. Like in place of, or you are only able to see the block. You are not able to see any detail behind this. Got it? So, we are trying to learn the systematic techniques that is based on the abstraction and the decomposition. Then after working with each and every part, we have combined everything. So, that's why we are learning the software. Next, what is the software? All of you know. The software is an instruction. It's basically a computer program that when you executed your program, it provides you the desired features, function and the performance. Also, software, it's a data structure that enable the program to adequately manipulate the information. If you have given any information, then you will get the desired output, right? And then also you can say it's a documentation that describes the particular operation and the use of that program. This is the software. Now, what is the IEEE definition? Till now we have discussed the software engineering in different ways, but we have not discussed this standard definition. So, software engineering is the application of a systematic, disciplined, quantifiable approach to the development, operation and maintenance of software. That is the application of engineering to software. Right? What we have discussed previously, it's an engineered approach. It's a systematic approach. So you can see here, what are the terms we are using here? It's a systematic, disciplined, quantifiable approach to the development, operation and maintenance of the software. Why I am giving importance to this definition? Because most of the time in your exam, it is asked, write the definition as it is. Got it? So, no one is expecting as it is, but at least you have to use all these terms. You can frame the sentence, but all the terms that what the software engineering will do, that you have to include it here. Got it? And then you remember the one point. What? The software engineering is a way of approaching a problem. If you want any problem, you can approach by using this. So, next we will discuss the role of the software. Right? Evolving role of the software. See, your software is a product. Got it? Software is a product, and also it is a vehicle for delivering a product. Got it? So this software is both a product and a vehicle for delivering a product. See, try to understand. As a product, it delivers the computing potential embodied by the computer hardware, or more broadly, a computer network that are accessible by the local hardware, whether it resides within a cellular phone or operates inside a mainframe computer. Software is an information transformer. What it will do? It will produce, manage, acquire, modify, displays, or transmit the information that can be as simple as single bit or complex as a multimedia presentation. Right. So this is the task if the software is working as a product. But if your software is working as a vehicle, or as a vehicle used to deliver the product, software acts as a basis for the control of the computer. Right, control the other programs, you can say. Operating system, you can use it for the communication of information. You can say it's a network and the creation and control of the other program. So software tools and the environments. So you can say your software is work as a product as well as a vehicle for it. Right, you can use that product to generate directly the output, some output from it. You can use it to produce, manage like the payroll and all. Similarly, it works as a vehicle. Operating system, you can see you are having the multiple softwares inside this operating system, device drivers and all. Got it? And again, for communication, if you want to perform the chat, networking software, you can see. So this is like, these are the evolving roles of the software. Got it? Now move to, okay, yes, it also helps us build the other software tools. Now move to the next slide, that is the software characteristic. Got it? See, the characteristic of a software make it different from other things that human being build. Software is a logical rather than a physical system element. Therefore, software has a characteristic that are considerably different than those of the hardwares. Got it? So first is, software is developed or engineered. It is not manufactured in the classical sense. Right? See, although there are some similarities exist between the software development and the hardware manufacture, the two activities are fundamentally different. Got it? But the manufacturing phase for hardware, it can introduce the quality problem. The manufacturing phase for the hardware, it can introduce some quality problems that are non-existent or easily corrected. For software, both activities require the construction of a product, but the approaches are different. Please remember this point. If you are working with the hardware project, it is also like you need to be manufactured, but there is a difference between the hardware and the software term. Then second, the software does not wear out. Got it? Check this. What is the meaning of, like, what do you mean by the software does not wear out? Just see this diagram. It is the failure curve for hardware. Okay. This relationship between the failure rate and the time, it is called the bathtub curve. You can see its shape, right? You can see it's a shape. This shape is like a, see, this is a this is a bathtub curve. We also call it like a bathtub curve. See here. Okay, it indicates that hardware, this is the curve for the hardware, it indicates that hardware exhibit relatively high failure rate in its life. Right? These failures are often attributable to design or manufacturing the defects. The defects are corrected, and when you correct the defects, the failure rate drops to a steady level. See, it drops to a steady level. Ideally, it is quite low or for some period of time. As a time passes, you can see as a time passes, initially this is high and now again goes down, then it is the ideal for some time. As a time passes, the failure rate rises again as the hardware component suffers from the cumulative effects of dust, vibration, temperature extremes, and many other environmental maladies. Like so, the hardware begins for wear out. Got it? So whatever we said that software does not wear out, hardware wears out, that is the meaning of this. Because with respect to the time, if we are like the hardware is very old, you can see there are various issues that will affect it. Right? So it follows this bathtub curve, and the situation of the time will come, it wears out. The next is now the idealized and the actual curve for the software. Right. So now what is the ideal and idealized in the actual curve for the software? See, software is not susceptible to the environmental maladies that cause hardware to wear out. Obviously, it is not a hardware. So like if there is a too much rain, there is a change in wind and all. So it will not, if there is a in summer days, if the heat is there, so it will not affect the software. In theory, therefore, the failure rate curve for software should take the form of the idealized curve. That's why we are saying that it is not wearing out. You can see when the time passes, we are not getting any bathtub curve here. We are getting the idealized curve here. So undiscovered defects will cause the high failure rates early in the life of the program. There are correctly, ideally without introducing the other errors. And the curve flattens and so as shown in the diagram. So you can see as the time passes, this curve will become ideal. Okay, this idealized curve is a gross oversimplification of actual failure models. Got it? This is a gross oversimplification of actual failure model. This is the idealized curve of the software. This is not the actual curve of the software. If you will see this upper part, of the software, however, the implication is clear. For this diagram, it is clear that it does not wear out, but it does deteriorate. What does it mean? You see just the upper part of the diagram. During its life, software will undergo maintenance. As maintenance, we can say software will go with the changes. As changes are made, because what we discussed initially, your software is very long, and according to the software takes too much time, and according to the time, the changes may be occur from the user. The requirements of the user may change. So as changes are made, it is likely that some new defects will introduced, which will cause the failure rate curve to spike, as shown in this figure. Before the curve can return to the original, steady rate, right, or original steady state failure rate, another change is requested. You can see when it's come back here, another change is required, it's again go back a spike. Again, when it is coming back, again another change is come, it come here. Got it? So causing the curve to spike again and again. So slowly the minimum failure rate begins to rise. The software is deteriorating due to change. So there are some spikes are coming because the changing in the user requirement. The user are demanding something else. The customers are demanding more changes. So this is the difference between the hardware and the software. We are dealing with the software characteristic. So the software characteristic, software is not manufactured. We never manufactured the software. We developed or engineered a software. Or it does not wear out like a hardware. Got it? Yes. One more point is there. That is, although the industry is moving towards the component based assembly, most software continues to be custom built. What does it mean? See, in the hardware word, component reuse is a natural part of the engineering process. Okay, suppose you are making a motorcycle, so you will use the tires, you will use some engines and all, you will use the different parts. But software component has a limited domain of applications. So modern reusable components are encapsulated, like the data, the processing applied to the data, you can say like the graphical user interface. Got it? So like this is like sometimes there's an issue that although the industry is moving toward component based, why not software continues to be custom built? So that's why we have discussed, because of some domain issue and all, we have to change the points. But the new coming softwares, they are using the same data and the same processing data, right? So now tell me, what is your opinion about the software engineering? What is your opinion about it? Your opinion is like this definition is descriptive and not prescriptive. It does not say how to do anything. Got it? It just say what qualities SE should have, what qualities software engineering should have. As a result, many people understand SE differently. As I told you initially that what course is not about in the first lecture, it is not about any programming language. That's why I have said that many people are not having the proper understanding why we are learning this subject. So it like what qualities it should have. So slide is the myths. Now we will deal with the myths. See, what is myth basically? Myth is basically, we can say it's a false notation. Got it? Myth is basically a false notation. Got it? And then there are 3 types of software myths which exist, and all the 3 are this myths. That's the management myths, customer myth, and the practitioner or the developer myth. Like the false notation, they are thinking that this is the reason, that's why this is happening. So this is not like that in actual situation, right? One more point, before defining all the 3 myths or understanding all the 3 myths, let us try to understand why these myths occur, why it is occurring on the first place, very initially, right? Not just see or understand this picture. This picture, it tries to clarify the complexity of the problem of software development requirement analysis, mainly between the developer teams and the clients. This picture indicates that, or it teaches, it understands the problem differently, that we are understanding the problem differently than what it really is, and it results to a different solution as the problem itself is misunderstood. So the problem understanding, it means requirement analysis must be done properly to avoid any problem in later stages, as it will have some more dangerous effect, we can say, or like we will come up with another software, we have invested lot of efforts, people, cost, time and all, new resources, but we are ready with something different. Got it? Generally, like why myths occur, what happened basically, how software is constructed. See, read each and every line from the first one. The requirement specification, see, you can see the diagram and try to understand. The requirement specification was defined like this. Okay, you can see this picture, it is like this, 1, 2 and 3 steps. The developer understood it in a different way. Developer ne, like he understood it this way. This is how the problem was solved before, this way the problem was solved. This is how the problem is solved now. Like again, after some changes, again he suppose like it was solved before, and like he again discussed with the customer, yes, this is the solution, but after some correction again he developed something, and this is now. That is the program after debugging. You have already created it and then you are debugging it. Is there any error? Yes, there is some errors. So after error, when we have again performed some correction, we are here. This is how the program is described by the marketing department. The marketing, what you can see a luxurious chair here, but this is not required. Only a but with the help of that wooden, the work can be done, but it is the marketing department, as you all know, like this is blah blah and blah. So this in fact is what the customer wanted. Okay, this in fact is what the customer wanted. Got it? So this, the last one is the customer want this, he only want this ring and nothing. But the requirement specification, when we create the requirement specification, first we collect the requirement from the user. After taking the requirement from the user, we try to create the specification. So that specification was wrong at the initial level, and if that was wrong, then all the next terms in which we are working all are wrong. So basically we want this part, but we are not making this one, we are making something different. Got it? So that's why these myths are occurring. Why these myths occur? It's a solution to this. Got it? And then now take one more. See from here, like step by step, which we have discussed in this picture. See, this is your first picture. The same thing we have discussed in the previous image. How the customer explain it. Got it? Customer also, that is not only the fault of the person who is making the requirement specification document or requirement analyst. This is also the fault from the customer, because at the initial level they don't know what they want exactly, or they are not having the experience of how to explain it to the people, or how to explain it to the developer who are going to serve you. So how the customer explained it, they have explained it. Next, how the project leader understood it. Project leader had understood in this way that they want only one, right? They don't want the 3 steps, they want only one. Next, again, how the analyst designed it. See, there are all the people who will work in our project. Analyst, what analyst will do? Analyst, you can see this gap here, and analyst designed it in this way. How the programmer wrote it. When programmer will write, programmer will wrote it in this way. That, got it? Next, you can see how the business consultant described it. It's a luxurious chair, so you will never use this chair with the tree. Next, how the project was documented. Your project was documented in this way. And what operation install? There is nothing. You have not installed anything. This project document is not clear. It is like the blank one. So what operation install? Next, how the customer was built. I think everyone is familiar with this. Even with the small construction also, like for a construction of any small house or any building, you can see the customer build in this way, that we are going, like the manager has described the way we are going to make a very big building. We are going to make very big building. We will represent it in this way. So you have to pay this much amount. So this way the customer was. How it was supported? After the delivery of your software, every time you have to provide the maintenance to it. Got it? You can also see just example of the gems. Even the gems is like, it is provided us by the third party, but they are always ready to assist us. Even there is, like, anytime any issue come, the people are ready to assist us. Yes, this is the issue. So how it was supported. Got it? And finally, what the customer really needed. So this picture is a more clearer view of the previous picture, so you can understand. You can also see the role of each and every person here. Got it? So these are the reasons, like why the myths. Got it? So what is the motivation behind it? Why we need to understand the myths? Just remember, see this communication. I will need to know. She said, I will need to know your requirements before I start to design the software. He is a customer and she is a project leader. She wants to make a project for him. So what she has to do? She has to take the requirements. First of all, what are you trying to accomplish? Right. Now he replied, I am trying to make you design my software. Please listen the words. I am trying to make you design my software. But what design? I mean, what are you trying to accomplish with the software? What do you want to make with the help of that software? Again she asked. Then again, I won't know. He is not aware about. I won't know what I can accomplish until you tell me what the software can do. What he wants, first you tell me what software can do, but what she will design, she don't know anything. Again she try to get this concept through your thick skill. The software can do whatever I design it to do. The software will do whatever I design it to do. Suppose I created a payroll software, so it will perform the payroll operations. I created a simple ticket booking software, so it will perform the ticket booking operations. So at that point come, they both, like, they are not having anything to communicate with each other. They will sit in a this way. Now again he asked, can you design it to tell you my requirements? Can you design a software who will tell the requirements? How project developer can say what are your requirements? At least you have to give a clue. So when you are dealing with the customer, at least try to get a clue. Sometimes like customers are not aware about anything. So deal with the proper customer. Multiple customers are there. Suppose for example you are making the software for a company, say medical shop, right? So in that medical shop multiple people are working. It might be possible the person who is working there, he is not he is the electrician of that shop, for example, right? He only suppose he is performing the dusting task and all, and if he comes to you, his boss said jao or just tell the requirements, my requirements. He is not able to explain the requirements. So please try to communicate, like identify the customer properly. So this is this. Got it? So why should we avoid myths? Why should we avoid myths? Because these myths are creating the misinformations and the confusions. Got it? These myths are creating the misinformation and confusions. Software myths, like these myths propagate the false beliefs and confusion in the minds of management, users and developer. Also it leads to the false expectation and ultimately develop some dissatisfaction among the users. That's why we should avoid the myths. Myths means हाँ ऐसा है तो ऐसा हो जाएगा, but this is not the reality ना. It is not like that. If suppose I am saying suppose I said कि मैं तुमको book का नाम बता दिया, and after just getting the name of that book, you all will get the book from the library. It is not the reality, because in reality we are not having 200 or 300 copy in our library. Might be possible that all of you are not getting the books. So these are the myths, misconceptions. Now first we will deal with the management myths, right? I think all of you know that in most of the discipline, managers are often under pressure to maintain the budget, to keep the schedule from slipping and improve the quality, right? So now start with the myths. What management people thinks, we have books with rules, isn't that everything my people need, right? So the software practitioner aware of its existence, the question comes in our mind, it's okay, management is saying that lot of books are available, so just by reading the book software people can get the good knowledge, there is no issue. But the first question is software people aware about this existence, this book is exist or not? Does it reflect modern software engineering practices? Might be possible that the previously you are using the other approaches. Is that book is complete? Is it streamlined to improve time to delivery, right? Is it like focusing on the quality also? In many cases the answer to all of these questions is no, because how you will say which book is perfect for you? There might be multiple books, and when you will start working on a project, you will not open the 5, 6, 7 books and you will start reading it. So the management people thinks in this way. Second, if we fall behind, we can add more programmers. What they think, like if we are not able to complete our project on the time, we will add some more people. So just adding the people, it will not solve your problem, no? Because adding people to a late software project make it later. Why? Because when you will add the more people in your software, again you have to train all those people. We don't know whether those people are skilled or not, they are having this quality or not, right? They are aware about the latest frame or not. Got it? So adding people to a late software project make it later again. This statement, it may seem the counterintuitive, but as a new people are added, people who were working, they must spend time evaluating the newcomers, thereby reducing the amount of time spent on productive development effort. People can be added, but only in a planned and well coordinated manner. It means when you are added some people, first assure that yes, they all are having the proper knowledge, they are all already in. That's why in most of the companies, when you enter as a fresher level, they give you the training, then only they assign you a project. Got it? That's why we can outsource it. Then again, it means if you do not know how to manage and control it internally, you will struggle to do this with outsiders. What they think, if at the end we are not able to do this, like this is the strategy of the student most of the time, where the time is going to end and we are not finishing with our project, we can do one thing, we can outsource it. We can outsource it. But when you are outsourcing it, are you able to manage and control it internally? Are you familiar with each and every part of it? If you are not familiar, external will ask you the why, and you will struggle with the questions. So that's why these are the myths related to management. Now the second, come to the customer myths. Second, come with the customer myths. What are the customer myths? See, like a simple statement is, or they feel that just to what customer feel. See, customer myth is what when the customer are giving the requirements, what they feel that a simple objective, a simple statement is sufficient to write a program. If I said I want to make a payroll software, simple statement, but where it is going to calculate the salary? Where? In organization, in an industry, in an educational institute, in a small industry, where? Right? And they feel that bus only one sentence and people can make it. Requirement changes are easy to accommodate. What they feel, they again feel that even like whenever they will say the requirements, suppose they are saying I want these changes, so everyone can do the changes very easily. Project, the person who is developing it, they can do it easily, right? And what they feel, I know what my problem is, therefore I know how to solve it. So these are the some myths related with the customer. Okay. Yes. So see, as a customer who requests computer software, there may be a person at the next desk. This is the customer. Okay, and our technical group down the hall, the marketing department, or an outside company that is the requested software under contract. In many cases, the customer believes myths about the software because the software managers and the practitioner do little to correct misinformations. So it may lead to a false expectation and ultimately dissatisfaction with the developers also, because they are expecting something else and we are developing something else, right? So that's why, like, whenever you are collecting the requirements, try to collect the multiple objectives, and each and every objective, it should be very clear. Got it? It means a poor upfront definition is the major cause of failed software efforts. The first sentence, a statement objective. Poor upfront definition is the major cause of software failure. A formal and detailed description of the information domain, function, behavior, performance, interface, design constraint is essential. Proper information is essential. And these characteristics can be determined only after communication between the customer and the developer. So, when you are working on a project, the customer and the developer, they should communicate continuously on a weekly manner or a daily manner as per the project needs, right? So these are the myths related with the customer. Next, you can also see the myths related with the practitioner, right? See, myths are still developed by the software practitioners. Not only you can say it is developed by only the customer and the manager, also it may be developed by the software practitioner. They has been like fostered by many by over 15 years of programming culture. So during the early days of the software programming, it was viewed as an art form. In the old days, practice that is seen in the developers art that they think they know everything and neglect the peculiarity of each program, right? They neglect the peculiarity of the each and every problem. Every developer should try to get all requirements in a relevant detail. What they feel that it's okay, one in our team are able to understand, why we should understand all the things? It is not like that. Everyone should understand each and everything properly, right? To the effectively design and code the symptom. One of the most effective software qualification mechanism can be applied from the inspection of a project, FTR. We will discuss it in more detail. So these are some myths that are related with the practitioner or the developer. Or see here, like see the first one. Let's see the code so we will be done faster. What they feel, the sooner you will start writing the code, the longer it will take to finish. This is the reality. The myth is, let's write the code so you will be done faster. But the reality is, like the early you will start writing code, you will take 2 time to finish, because the designing is, you are not dealing with the designing part. You are not trying to understand it clearly. And please make sure and remember, 60 to 80% of the time is expended after first delivery, because changes are coming. You have just started writing the code, just stating the requirement from the user. You have not created any proper specification document, any FTR meetings and all, right? And then next myth is, until I finish it, I cannot access its quality. No, this is not the truth. This is not the truth. The truth is, software and design reviews are more effective than testing. It means you cannot perform you will not perform testing directly. Whatever you are doing, even you are working with the specification document and you are working with the basic analysis and design, you have to perform the review multiple times. That's why we said to the student, whatever you are doing, suppose I assign one project to you and you are coming to me after finishing your project, so it will not give a proper output now, because when you will come to me at the end, I will say, this was not my requirement. I never told you to perform this task. I told you to perform this complexity analysis and all. So perform the review multiple times. It will help you to get a clearer view of your software, and it will also help you to complete a software project on a time, or any project on a time, right? Next, the next method is, there is no time for the software engineering. No, it is wrong. But there is a time to redo the software. Got it? So these are the several myths. Those are associated with this, with the practitioner, with the practitioner or the developer, with the management, and with the customer. They are having misconceptions in their mind. So what you can do, you can see it one by one. The first, the line indicates the myth, and the second, inside this, it indicates the reality. Got it? Now, again, some misplaced assumptions that intensify the myths. For example, all requirements can be pre-specified. It is not possible to pre-specify the requirement. Users are expert at specifications of their end. Users are not experts. If they are experts, so they can create a specification document. They can only tell you their requirements. Users and developers are both good at visualization. No, it is not good every time. How you can say the customer, user is very good, and also the developer? Because between this user and the developer, there is a one bridge, or we can say there is a project leader, we can say, or the analyst and the design people. So the analyst and the design people have to understand the requirements in a way, and after understanding the requirements, create it in a way that developer can understand it easily, right? Developer should be understand it. Just by taking the requirements from the user and you are giving it to the developer, it means you are not analyzing on it, and you are directly starting with the code. Got it? So these are the proper some misconception behind the software. The project team is capable of unambiguous communication. Got it? So these are some misplaced assumptions that intensify the myths. Okay. See this one more picture. Today is the 3-year anniversary. Got it? Again, see the miscommunication concept. Today is the 3-year anniversary of our first meeting to discuss the project requirements. See, it's a 3rd year anniversary. It's a 3rd year of their first meeting. Every time they are doing the same meeting to discuss the requirements of the project. Every time from the last 3 years, and we're still discussing the requirements. Still, the people are discussing the requirement only. Does anyone else see a problem here? Obviously, like what you are doing, you are not getting the requirements clearly. When you are done, can we talk about the requirements? Again, the situation. So this is the situation in reality, because we are not able to understand the requirements of the user. We have to communicate with them multiple times. Got it? So there are some misconceptions are there. So in this lecture, what we discussed the standard IEEE standard definition of the software engineering. We have discussed some characteristic that the software is engineered and it does not wear out. Then again, some myths related with the software with respect to the customer, with respect to the manager, and with respect to the practitioner or the developer. Right? We have also seen one example that clearly indicates us that the requirement understanding is very important. You have to be very clear with the requirements, otherwise you will not be able to make a proper model or the proper software that is expected by the user. And never think that if you are a project leader, never think that your customer or your user is very intelligent and on the other hand your developer is able to understand everything. So keep all these points in mind. Good. Thank you. We will meet in the next lecture.